Blah. I have my fair share of rant videos about Plants vs Zombies too. I mean, look at my very consistent schedule all about the new plans the game has released. You should watch those. I'm just saying. But anyways, it's nice to see that others have agreed that the new premium plants are a little odd. I already explained why in the other videos, but to summarize, most of them are either nostalgia bait, awkwardly animated, or completely unbalanced. Though, have you ever wondered how they'd be rated in a tier list? Well, probably not most of you, but I am curious. I'm very curious. So let's rate them. In terms of how we're going to, I'll keep it simple. I will rank them based on how their animations, balance, and usefulness in title. Let's just see how it goes. The Iceweed isn't that bad, really. I had a hard time picking where he went at first, but I would say he's not a horrible addition to the game. Introduced in the 9.3.1 update, the Almanac claims that the Iceweed does 10 damage with a cost of 150 sun cost. To compare, Spikeweed also does 10 damage with a cost of 100, with Spike Rock doing 20 for the cost of 250 sun. This makes Iceweed pretty similar to Spikeweed in terms of damage, the difference being that Iceweed, of course, freezes zombies when it's stepped on. Honestly, Iceweed could be considered a little bit of a useless plant, because there are many other ice-based plants that do way better. The Cold Snapdragon, the Nostalgia Bait Ice Shroom. I mean, Pokemon is pretty much the equivalent of 2 Iceweeds with 4 times more damage for a much lower price. Hey, I mean, at least Iceweed isn't a Nostalgia Bait, but it still seems like an odd addition. Nonetheless, the animations aren't horrible. Then again, Iceweed is a very simple design compared to others, so it's a little hard to mess him up. I just feel like there's more than enough ice-related plants in the game, so the addition of Iceweed is a little bit anticlimactic. Nonetheless, I'll say it's okay. It's a great plant for adventure mode if you don't have any other plants like Horrorkill or Ice Bloom, but apart from that, it's alright. Tiger Grass is a cutie patootie. First introduced in the 9.4.1 update, the Tiger Grass creates tiny little grass tigers that leap out and claw the first zombie that approaches the 4th tower in front of it. It deals 3 times damage one time, then jumping back into the Tiger Grass once the zombie dies. It costs 150 sun and does 40 damage. I'm gonna be honest, it's broken. It's completely broken. It's like Pokra and Headbutter Letter is kind of broken. The damage it does against basics, Coneheads, Buckets, it's absolutely insane. The whole entire time while playing every level, it went like a breeze with the fact that I feel like the Tiger Grass's little tigers just one-shotted each zombie at that point. I'm not rating with how good a plant is in terms of damage and etc. Rating it based on whether or not it's well balanced. And it's not at all. Unlocking the Tiger Grass makes the game a little too unbalanced, which is a common problem for a lot of these different plants, and Tiger Grass is one of them. At least he's adorable, I guess. It's not like he's horrible in the animation department either, but the way the tigers return back into the main plant is definitely a little weird in my opinion. They should just like scurry back in rather than fly in. That's just weird. Not just that, but the attack animation is a little stiff. It's not the worst animated one. Trust me, there are definitely drastic worse ones in the list. The plant food ability kind of sucks. The Iceweed had the same problem where the plant food ability is very anticlimactic, but there's really not much to talk about it. So I'd put it in the category, the I don't hate it. He's adorable. The design is cute. I like the design. But he's very unbalanced. Teleportato Mine. Released in the 9.4.1 update, it makes the unbalanced levels of Tiger Grass look like nothing. The Teleportato Mine really annoys me. Not because it looks annoying or it's complicated or anything. It's just one of the most pointless additions to the game. First of all, we have enough potatoes, guys. That's not really like a real valid reason or complaint, but like, I'm just saying, why so many potatoes? We already have 2 other potato explosives, so why a 3rd one? Second of all, it makes other plants completely useless, which is another immense problem that the new premium plants have. For some reason, the Teleportato Mine's explosion size is 3 times 3. The Cherry Bomb and Grape Shot's explosion is also 3 times 3. The Teleportato Mine is half of their sun cost and takes 15 seconds less to recharge. What is the point of the Cherry Bomb at that point? If you're going to give us a plant that does what Cherry Bomb does, but better. Not just that, but it makes the Primal Potato Mine completely useless as well. It just makes the plant super unbalanced. I was able to beat an entire PVZ 2 match with just using Teleportato Mines. Level 1 Teleportato Mines, may I add. Does this seem fair? No, not at all. Especially with PVZ2's horrendous leveling system, which I don't use. Okay, granted, the animation and design are fine. It matches the game style pretty well. Then again, it's another potato, so it's a little difficult to mess that up. I'm gonna put it in the bad tier. The fact that it makes other explosive plants so useless and makes the game a little too easy just makes it hard to enjoy. Buttercup. A nice homage to the old PVZ3 version, RIP, introduced in the 9.5.1 update. I gotta say, surprisingly, it's a nice refresher when it comes to these array of modern plants. Okay, some might say it's useless, a lot of you will. But personally, I think it's great. She's adorable design-wise. I mean, look at her. Look at that cutie patootie. She's simplistic, but I kind of like that. She's not overpowered, complicated, or neither does she ruin the balance of adventure mode. She's a plain, simple defense plant, and there's nothing wrong with that. Something I like about her is that she doesn't put down either wall plants like walnuts, tallnuts, or even infinites. They have way better toughness, with Buttercup having 900 and Walnut having 4000. They're still useful. Buttercup is just a nice addition when you want a quick and easy defense plant. When attacked, it starts throwing butter on the zombies to stall them, costing only 25 sun and a 10-second recharge. I gotta say though, the animations are pretty bad. You can sort of tell without me explaining that the Edo animation isn't really that smooth, especially when she giggles. Unfortunately though, that's all Edo animations at this point, but I'll give her a pretty good. As good as a water plant can be though. Buttercup was a great defense plant. The first to get a pretty good tier. Blockoli, on the other hand, not as good as Buttercup. I'm gonna start with what bothers me the most about the plant. Blockoli's design clashes way too much with the other plants. It doesn't fit the PVZ2 style at all. Which in a way would make this the first modern plant to be solely rated low just because of its design. I mean, look at it. It just doesn't fit very well. It looks modded. Introduced in the 9.5.1 update, I think he was released around the same time that most of PopCop's artistic team was laid off. I'm not too sure about that information, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's why he looks so off. How he plays in the game itself? He's fine. A plus I'd give him is that he's immune to Fisherman Zombie, which he's incredibly annoying, so that's cool, I guess. It should have been Tallnut though, as I would have avoided him. I just think Tallnut should have been a little bit more useful in the game. The poor guy is barely used because he's overshined by Primal Walnut and Infinite. Anyway, Blockoli is not a plant I'd use really. His stunning kind of sucks, doing 95 damage with 6000 toughness. He's not horrid or too OP. I just don't see why anyone would use him consistently. With that, I'll give him an eh. Bramble Bush is another plant that I'll outright say is gonna go to the eh tier as well. Introduced in the 9.6.1 update, the Bramble Bush traps a zombie close to him and will damage it over time. He will still damage other zombies that attack him while trapping a zombie. When a zombie is dragged into a trap, it also loses its armor, buckets, cone heads, etc. Cool concept, but the oddest thing about it is that it disappears after it uses all its berries. This is a little strange, and what's the point of using it if it's going to disappear after a certain amount of time? If it wasn't temporary and would regenerate its berries over time, I feel like it wouldn't feel so useless. Its damage output is great, but when zombies start swarming, that's when you see that it's a little useless. I find it odd that some of these plants are meant to be for arena, yet they're horrible when used in that mode. I don't understand how Bramble Bush is meant to help you earn points in the arena. I just don't really understand it. I don't have much to say about it. It's okay. Eh. The design is nice, and it's not too unusual animation-wise, but there's really nothing to it. I don't know if this is going to be a hot take. Probably not, because I don't know any Rhubarbarian fans, but the Rhubarbarian is bad. First of all, the idle animations are super awkward. I've mentioned it before, but these new animations lack the slow in and slow out animation principle. It's when an object or character starts their movement slowly, then picks up its speeds, finishing with deceleration. Both beginning and end movements are softened during this. The Rhubarbarian is way too stiff and doesn't follow this principle at all. Honestly, I wish PVZ2 just had better art direction. Another big problem is similar to Teleportato Mine's problem. It's way too OP. It's literally just a lawnmower that you're able to put in your lawn. It one-shots mostly any zombie, and when it comes to Gargantuars, it stuns it for its entire duration. Yeah, this is super powerful and would technically be great for your game, but this is too OP. It's broken, and I don't like that. There should be some sort of balance. It doesn't stay in your lawn the entire time, but the recharge is only 20 seconds. He's not even high cost either. He's 100 sun. I don't know. That makes no sense. I'm putting him in bad. You know, I actually had a hard time deciding where Mega Gattling Pea should go. I review these plants based on how they are in level 1. So dare I say, when it's on level 1, it's actually pretty balanced. Granted, it's an unnecessary addition, let's be honest. He's a start to PVZ2's odd pattern of including the first PVZ's plants and changing the mode mechanic. Mega Gattling Pea isn't necessarily so different from the first game. He's mega now. But seriously, he's mostly the same except for the fact that now he has a random chance of activating his plant food. I don't know why, but I guess it's a pleasant surprise. But there's a huge problem. His leveling system, appeasement effect, and P Vine effect is absolutely despicable. In a way, it's hard to whether or not blame the plant for this or PVZ2's crappy multipliers and leveling system. Take a good look at the level upgrades. Level 5 puts it down to a simple 300 sun with 70 damage compared to the level 1's 20 damage and 400 sun. And now take a look at the appeasement effect. Additional 120 damage. Sure, it's temporary, but that's still crazy. In terms of animation and design, what could I say about it really? I like it much more than the first game's Mega Gattling Pea design, but like animation wise it's just the pea shooter's reskin. So what could I say about it? I'll put it in okay though. Only because honestly, I actually like that it's a little bit balanced on its first level at least. So with that, I'll give it a nice little tier. Another potato. Why? Why another potato? Too many potatoes, guys. I think at this point they're just doing it for the potato puns. Teleportato, Levitater, it's gotta be the reason. But anyway, I don't like Levitater. It's bad, it's useless, the design is weird. He could have been so adorable, and yet he isn't. The animations where he exits his ground hole is pretty bad too. Once again, having the same problem the Rhubarbarian has. It's too stiff and way too awkward. I really have nothing to say about it. I don't really see why anyone would use this plant. It's not fun to use, and it's another example of a plant that practically one-shots zombies. Where's the fun in that? Bad tier. Bzzz Tangler. Within the PVZ2 fanbase, 2's Tangler is mutually agreed among the community that it's a horrid plant. It was so hated that he got buffed. Same with Levitater, which is pretty hated too, for good reason. The problem with 2's Tangler is that it's very, very limited. It's only used in specific situations, which makes it a plant nobody would really use or care about. Even in the context it's used for, in gravestones, it still sucks. It takes up space when you could just use Gravebuster to destroy the grave immediately. There's literally no reason to turn the grave into a 2's Tangler. I can't name one specific time you would look at a grave and be like, damn, I wish I could turn this into a tree that only sometimes drags a zombie down to the ground. A plant being too situational will put people off from wanting to pick it. You can't control where the graves spawn, which means wherever you place a 2's Tangler, the lawns won't be organized, which bothers me a lot. The whole time playing with him, I wanted to rip my hair out with how annoying it was. It hurt to watch. With that makes 2's Tangler the first plant to be in the super bad tier. We'll probably never use him again, honestly. Vamporcini. Yeah, no. This plant is at the same level as 2's Tangler, and I'll die in that hill. It's another plant mutually agreed by the community as useless and pointless to obtain in the first place. You know it's bad when the PVZ2 wiki pretty much admits that it's a horrible plant. And Zach Scott Games, the PVZ2 legend himself, pretty much regrets wasting $20 on it.
I got him. I must be just missing something. I don't know. Or maybe it just isn't that great of a plant. I don't know.
So what makes it so bad? Let's take a good look at its statistics. The Vamporcini, meant to be a wall plant, has a toughness of 2,700. Okay. Cool. Walnut has a toughness of 4,000. The basic default wall plant has more toughness than a premium plant that you either have to work hard to get or pay for it. Yes, the Vamporcini can add up to 4,000, but that does not make it any better at all. Something like the Infinite is way more efficient. More statistics. The Vamporcini costs 100 sun. Plants like the Primal Walnut and the Infinite cost 25 less, with the Walnut only costing 50. I think it should cost around 75. I feel like 100 is way too much for a wall plant like Vamporcini. It also has a long recharge, having a recharge of 20 seconds. The 3x3 damage is also very minuscule. It's horrible. It barely damages an imp, so what's the point of it? I'll put it in the super bad, next to her best friend, the 2's Tangler. The Meteor Flower. It's a pretty cool plant. The animation is a little stiff, unfortunately, which sucks because its design is so cool. It is crazy that fans can make plants look way better. Look at this animation by Q Wu on Reddit. Way smoother and lively. If only. If only. But anyway, I like his design. He's cute and his petals are very cool to look at. In terms of gameplay though, he's alright. I think the biggest and probably the only problem is its RNG. I don't particularly like RNG characters, as it sort of messes up what I think is the whole point of a plant. Once you plant one, you plant it in a lane and you know immediately what it will do. It's strategic. Plants like the Meteor Flower, and even the other ones like Electric Blueberry, don't really fit the whole point of what I believe is a strategy game. Though, I do enjoy that the Meteor Flower isn't overpowered, like the Rhubarbarian or Levitater. It can be considered a little weak, but the fact that it creates a little molten pool after dealing damage is a nice touch. Stat-wise, does 120 damage with a recharge of 5 seconds and a 7-second firing rate. One additional detail that I really like is that once you activate the Meteor Flower's plant food, dinosaurs in Jurassic March will run away. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, dinosaurs, meteors. Yeah, I thought it was interesting and gives the Meteor Flower an extra reason to be used. With this, I don't consider it too useless, and I'll be putting it in the pretty good tier. Guys, pretty good doesn't necessarily mean it's a great or amazing plant. Just compared to others, it's efficient. Chili Pepper. He originates from Plants vs. Zombies Adventures. I really miss that game though. It was so simple and nice. It sucks you're not able to play it anymore. I wish I'd re-release it. But anyway, I'm gonna start with what makes a Chili Pepper bad. The design. It looks like a shriveled nutsack. I don't understand why they didn't just mimic the same design from PVZ Adventure and PVZ Heroes. And the Ammonex idle animation, I have to say, it's terrible. Which is weird, because its explosion animation is not that bad. So, I don't know. If he looked differently, I would consider putting him in the okay tier. The gameplay part of him is what I actually like. And I have my reasons why. The Chili Pepper is pretty much a worse version of Jalapeno. Personally, I don't think this is a bad thing. I like to imagine that it's on purpose, with the fact that the recharge time is less than the Jalapeno and it does less damage. It's like how the Primal Walnut has less recharge time than Walnut, but it's worse toughness wise. The Chili Pepper is the same thing, meant to be a worse, simpler version of Jalapeno just in case you need a stalling plant when there's an abundance of zombies. I just can't get over the design. I'd wish to get some sort of redesign because man, it is ugly. No offense, Chili Pepper, but you're going in the tier. Bun Chi. Introduced in the 10.2.1 update, the Bun Chi attacks zombies by attacking them with its ears, slapping them 4 times before finishing with a clapping attack, knocking the target back. It's a pretty cool concept, I would say. Bun Chi technically has a similar concept, but it doesn't knock zombies back, nor does it give a weird yellow effect to the zombies, but whatever. I don't think the Bun Chi is a bad plant. I actually think it's pretty interesting and fairly balanced. It does 50 damage, with the Thunderclap doing 350. It's a simple 150 sun cost with a 12-second recharge. It's a combination of Charge Guard and, like mentioned, Bun Chi, although respectfully, the Charge Guard is a way better knockback plant. The attacking animations for a Bun Chi are very unusual, but I feel like a lot of these plants would be so much better if they found someone that's able to refine and smooth them up just a little bit. But oh well. Seems like these rigid looking animations aren't changing anytime soon, and you're gonna see that. I'm gonna put Bun Chi on the okay tier, only because he's fairly well balanced compared to the other plants on this list, and it's not like his design or animation is too distracting. There are way worse on the list, even if it's still hard to ignore. I'll give it this nice, simple tier. You know, I don't really understand why the Buzz Button acts the way it does. The chili bean is similar to the Buzz Button, where eating it creates consequences for the zombies. And yet somehow, chili bean, which I consider one of the worst plants in the game, is technically a better plant than Buzz Button, because when it's eaten, it actually kills a zombie. Buzz Button doesn't kill it instantly, so technically, by that definition, chili bean would be used over the Buzz Button. So what does the Buzz Button do? Well, when a zombie eats it, they become electrified, which damages and slows a zombie, causing them to create arching bolts of lightning at other zombies around it. When zombies around are hit by it, they're also slowed down. Okay, sure, the chili bean is technically better, but what if I said this mechanic was actually really cool? Just what if? With a small sun cost of 50 and a fast recharge of 15 seconds, it can work as a fast stalling plant if you're overwhelmed or need to act fast. But here's the thing, with how packed and how fast the game's adventure mode levels are, would you ever need to use the Buzz Button in a game? I feel like if this was a plant from the first game, somehow it would work way better. It just doesn't fit within the second game's playstyle. And with that, I'm gonna put it in the tier. It's mechanically interesting, but it just doesn't fit very well, like mentioned. Hear me out on why the BoomBerry has potential. It has the ability to cover what I think are the most annoying zombies in the game. How, you ask? Well, the BoomBerry, introduced in the 10.3.1 update, fires explosive berries at the last zombie in its lanes. Each hit does 90 damage, including stunning the zombie for 0.8 seconds, both directly and with their splash damage. A plus is that it gets bonus damage once there are more BoomBerries on the lawn. So how does this give it potential? A plant that only targets the last zombies in a lane sounds useless, but in reality, it isn't. Imp cannons, zombie kings, fisherman zombies, octo zombies, they're incredibly frustrating to deal with, but the fact that them being in the last lane sometimes makes it hard to kill. But for the BoomBerry, it's way easier now. BoomBerry by itself is not great, but put it alongside other melee plants is when it becomes so useful. These plants attack the front, while BoomBerry strictly focuses on the back to target the zombies I listed before it. Although I think his premise is pretty interesting, his design not so much. It's a little boring. He's not that compelling. He literally has the same face as Rhubarbarian. He's so generic. At least he's not as ugly as Chili Pepper. No offense, Chili Pepper. But with that, I'll put it in okay. MayBee was added in the 10.4 update. It fires bees when zombies get closer. These bees seek out the closest zombies that are 3 tiles ahead or behind her, dealing continuous damage while slowing down their movement and reducing attack damage until the zombie dies. When it does die, the bees will linger around the tile and will target the first zombie that enters the 3x3 area around the bees. Eventually, these bees will leave. This is a really interesting premise. I'm actually surprised because this mechanic is actually so cool in my opinion. MayBee isn't RNG or 2 OP either. The bees do 20 damage with each hit. I think this is a plan that's actually worth doing the arena for. A lot of these new plans are earned by playing arena or certain events to earn their seeds. I talk about it a lot in my past videos, and I do agree that this is way better than having to pay for these plants, but sometimes the plant is not worth grinding so much for. Sure, a lot of them are technically worth it because they're just crazy overpowered, but where's the fun in that? MayBee, I believe, is a fun plant that doesn't overstep, so I have to put it in pretty good. And personally, it's my favorite out of the other 2 pretty good tier plants. She's in my number 1 currently. Her animation isn't terrible either. I mean, here is an updated one by Q again, which is obviously way smoother. The original could be way worse though. Design wise, she's adorable, and not as generic as someone like BoomBerry or Rhubarbarian. SeaFlora. Okay. This girl's boring. Added in the 10.4 update, she fires bubbles every 4 seconds down her lane that pierce through zombies. She can be planted directly in water, and when she is, she will also fire bubbles in the adjacent lanes above and below. A water-based plant is interesting, and they add a lot of aquatic plants in future updates, but I don't know. SeaFlora is bad. It's a lot like the Sundew Tangler, where it's made for a scenario that's a little too specific. SeaFlora requires a far tide, where there's not much dry land in order to work efficiently. Because of this, I cannot imagine anyone using it in particular, especially when the damage is not that amazing either. I don't really have anything else to say about her. Her design's pretty colors is the only reason why she's not super bad, honestly. Which is why I'm putting it in a bad tier. We all know where I'm gonna put Scaredy Shroom. He is unironically the worst plant out of all the new plants, and I mean that. I don't understand how you already have Puff Shroom and Fume Shrooms designed for this game, and you still somehow mess up Scaredy Shroom and make him look completely different from the other 2. He sticks out like a sore thumb. He's so ugly. Fans have made so many redesigns that look 10 times better than the official look. Okay, I've yapped a little too much about Scaredy Shroom already before, so I'm not gonna say too much, but he is so useless. I don't really understand any other reasons to add Scaredy Shroom other than nostalgia bait. I can in a way defend Gattling Pea, Ice Shroom, and Doom Shroom because they're reworked in a way so they're sort of useful, I guess. But Scaredy Shroom, he's literally the exact same character that you would have to willingly grind to earn. He is so bad that they had to increase his damage with how much people hated him. Rather than continuing to yap about him, I will talk about how I would rework him. Okay, frankly, if I had the decision, I wouldn't add him at all. But let's say I had no choice. I would not make him a seed packet plant, first of all. I'd make it an additional plant for Dark Ages. And if you already beat it, you automatically get the plant. Second of all, I would obviously change his design and make him an adorable looking mushroom rather than, you know, an ugly looking one. And lastly, rather than hiding, he would panic and shoot faster. The whole hiding once zombies get close is a little silly for a game like PVZ 2. That's all I could do with Scaredy Shroom really. Putting him in super bad, obviously. Introduced in the 10.6.1 update, the Bamboo Spartan deals melee attacks with a range of 2 tiles ahead of him, and deals massive damage to obstacles like critters or graves. He literally one-shots them, and makes Gravebuster cry in his sleep. When his shield is destroyed, his damage is boosted to ×3, which I think is pretty interesting. It goes from 70 damage to 210. I think the Bamboo Spartan is cool design-wise. I think I'm just biased because I love the Gladiator movie. I think if there was a Roman world in PVZ 2, the Bamboo Spartan would fit perfectly. But man, the attacking animation is horrid. I keep saying this with every plant after Blockoli, but can you blame me? It sucks because some of these plants like the Meteor Flower, Tiger Lily, or the Bamboo Spartan are so cool, but their idle or attack animations are just so awkward that it makes it harder to enjoy. One could say he's a little generic in terms of gameplay mechanic. He's a lot like Bun Chi or Bun Choi, but he can work as his own plant with the shield mechanic that he has. I'm gonna put him in the okay tier. I like him, but the animations are impossible to ignore. The Sundew Tangler is horrible. Scaredy Shroom is still worse, but the Sundew Tangler is a very bad plant. Introduced in the 10.7.1 update, she's a short-range plant that traps zombies when they get too close to her. It's able to drain zombies to produce sun, trapping other zombies from entering meanwhile. It's hideous looking. I don't know why they gave it an upper lip. It's adorable without it, but whatever. I just don't know why anyone would use this plant in general. If you use it as a sun production plant, it's still very bad. It has a sun rate of 8 seconds. It's 100 sun, by the way. I don't think it's worth it. If you use it as an attacking plant, it deals 26 damage every 2 seconds. What's the point? There are too many plants that cost the same sun cost to do way better. I do think the most interesting part of it is how it can't be eaten, carried away by zombie parrots, can't be crushed, can't be transformed into sheep, covered by octopus, etc. But even then, once the zombie is trapped, the other plants can't attack it. I don't know. I'm putting it in super bad. Point blank. Sorry, Sundew Tangler. Introduced in the 10.8.1 update, Beansprout is a wild plant that transforms into its monster form when taking 1,400 damage, or if planted on a currently passive one. In his monster form, he punches zombies with a single target attack every 0.36 seconds, reaching up to 2 tiles ahead or behind him. If he doesn't get any targets, he will revert back to his passive state and fully heal. Interesting, but this is a pretty good example that PopCap is running out of ideas when it comes to adding new plants. This is literally just a cheaper kiwi beast that loses its rage form when it stops getting attacked. It's not original at all. It's attacking wall plant number 100. It's just a very weird plant. The attacking animations for it is, surprisingly, sarcastically, very bad. When he transforms into his next phase, he doesn't even have an animation. He just cuts immediately to the next following stage. His first stage is adorable at least. I think his design fits way better compared to the other drastically different art style plants from the others. I would just put him in bad though. I don't like that he's so unoriginal. NightCap is finally added in PVZ 2. Added in the 10.8.1 update, she attacks by shooting piercing stars in a 4-tile area ahead of her every 2.35 to 2.5 seconds. The stars she throws deal poisonous damage that lasts for 2 seconds. When a zombie gets close to her, the NightCap enters stealth mode, where it can't be damaged by any zombie attacks and can deal poisonous damage to any zombie occupying her tile. I think NightCap is a cool plant. Her design is awesome and reminiscent of her PVZ 3 and Battle for Nimberville design. It's weird that she's also in PVZ Heroes, but apparently they're 2 different characters? I don't know. The coolest part about her in my opinion is when you place her down on the lawn, she does a superior landing. Sure, it's a little stiff on the easing part, but it's unique. Rhubarbarian does something similar when it's placed down as well. Personally, NightCap isn't too OP either. She's similar to Fume Shroom and isn't too high in damage where it becomes a little silly. Another plant to put in what I think deserves to be in the super good tier. So I'm gonna rate Cran and Buddha Boom both in the same segment with the fact that they're both instant plants, and I don't think they both need a whole yap session with the fact that they're both very simple plants to talk about. So, Cran was released in the 10.9.1 update, and the Buddha Boom was released in the 11.0 update. When Cran is placed, it teleports to the first column and rolls down its respective lane, damaging zombies on hit and creating a puddle of goo which 30% slows and damages other zombies that touch it. When the Buddha Boom is placed, it explodes, leaving butter in a 3x3 area and heavily damaging zombies. This explosion will also fling multiple butter projectiles onto random tiles of the lawn, which also leaves stunning butter puddles. I don't like that it's so random though. Unfortunately, they're both very eh. They're both plants I wouldn't really use overall, especially Cran Jelly. Cran Jelly feels like it does no damage on its first level, and I don't see why anyone would substitute Cherry Bomb or Grape Shot for Buddha Boom. For stats, the Cran Jelly is meant to do 65 damage, and the Buddha Boom does 1000 damage. The Cherry Bomb does 800 more for an estimate. Also, I cannot see the fact that Buddha Boom looks like a condom. Ice Shroom. the third nostalgia bait plant in the game. Fortunately though, it isn't as horrid as Scaredy Shroom, but it's not exactly the greatest either. Releasing the 11.0.1 update, since Ice Bloom already does what Ice Shroom already did in the first game, Ice Shroom was reworked completely. Now being a chilling melee plant that creates a 3x3 area ice aura around himself that boosts his surrounding Winterman plants. So, he was reworked completely. What was the point of adding him then? I don't really see the reason of adding him if you're going to change him up, so the only thing that's identical is his design and name. And even then, I like the first game's design much more than the second one. In terms of gameplay, how good is he? Well, he's definitely great. Too great. He deals a whopping 200 damage with his attacks. I think that's way too much, honestly. Ice Shroom is another example of terrible balancing when it comes to the new PVZ2 plants. I don't like non-instant plants that one-shot the zombies. I think it ruins the whole point of the game being strategic. How can a strategy game be a strategy game if there are plants that stay in the lawn and are able to kill a zombie in less than 3 hits? I do think this may be one of the best add-on animations though when it comes to the newer plants, though its design is cool as well, I guess, even though I prefer the first games. It's not ugly, it's cool. I just do not like how powerful it is, and with all that, I had to put it in bad. I actually like the Dragon Brute. Design-wise, he's really unique. I like when the plants aren't just beady eyes with a simple mouth slapped on top of it. Design-wise, he's one of the best. He's up there with Bamboo Spartan and NightCap. Added in the 11.1 update, Dragon Brute is a lob-shot shadow plant that shoots heavy damaging seed pods across 3 lanes. When powered, Dragon Brute's seed pods gain a poison effect. When it's destroyed, it will spawn 3 little babies in 3 random spots on the lawn. It works like the main plant, except it only fires in 1 lane. I think that's very interesting. I think there should be more shadow-related plants so the Moonflower, the Nocturne, and the Gloom Vine don't feel so useless. It does 100 damage with a sun cost of 200. I'm gonna be honest though, the same reason Bamboo Spartan is in the okay tier and not the pretty good tier is the same reason why Dragon Brute will be put in the okay tier as well. The animation is way too awkward to ignore. I can ignore it for plants like MayBee and Buttercup, but that's because they're simplistic enough to disregard. Dragon Brute on the other hand, it just sucks more that its design is so cool, yet the animation just does it so wrong. And much like the Bun Chi and the Bamboo Spartan, it's a little too generic in the mechanic sense. It's really similar to the Dust Leopard, but I do really like the fact that it pretty much gives birth to 3 babies, and that is shadow powered. With that, I'll give it an okay tier. The Electric Peel. Releasing the 11.2.1 update, it's able to shoot a peel that pierces through all zombies and 4 tiles in front of it twice. The Electric Peel is able to be planted in water, which increases its damage and allows its peels to extinguish fire. Peels traveling in the water will create electric tiles that deal damage to zombies every 0.5 seconds. I have to say, this plant's design and animation are amazing. I don't know why, but the art team completely locked in when it came to this plant. This is another example of the trend where PopCap continues to add aquatic-like plants into the game. I don't really know the reason, as fans most likely have beaten Big Wave Beach almost 2 years ago, and more. But at this point, I assume that PopCap adds plans to benefit the Penny Pursuit or Arena events it has set up. Adventure mode isn't really a priority to PopCap anymore. Although I'd rather they concentrate on actually releasing a full version of PVZ3, I do wish we had extra content like a new PVZ2 world. But I suppose that's why we have games like Live Flourish to keep us entertained. Anyway, the Electric Peel is a good plant. It's such a step up quality wise compared to the other stiff plants I've had to put down into the lower tiers. Stat wise, it costs 125 sun and deals 30 damage. It's sort of like an electric bloomerang. I really like plants that pierce through. It's why I think the cactus is a way better plant in PVZ2 than it is in PVZ1. I do believe Electric Peel is a start to better animations, but only temporarily, unfortunately. Trust me. I'm putting Electric Peel in pretty good. Him and NightCap are honestly tied for my favorites. It hurts me, but I'm gonna have to put SeaShooter in the bad tier. The problem with SeaShooter is pretty much the same problem that Scaredy Shroom has. There's no point in it being added. Okay, a low damage plant that costs 0 sun. First of all, Big Wave Beach is one of the highest difficulty worlds. SeaShooter would be practically useless. Second of all, in the first game, SeaShooter was meant to be used for the pool night levels. In PVZ2, it's very easy to get sun, so you wouldn't really need to use SeaShooter. Not just that, but for some reason, SeaShooter disappears after 60 seconds. I understand that Puff Shroom does that because you'd be able to use him in every world, but SeaShooter is limited to only Big Wave Beach, so why would you need him to disappear after a minute? Not just that, but the way to obtain it is not worth it. I think it's way too difficult to obtain. You have to either collect 300 seed packets or spend $1.29. It sounds like I'm cheap if I'm complaining about buying a plant for $1.29, but it's SeaShooter. If there is an easier way of unlocking the plant, like an extension of the world, or a world where it's at water at night where you can unlock it, then I would put it in a higher tier since it would be given a purpose. There is no purpose for the plant if the reason it was in the first game in the first place isn't possible anymore. There are pluses though. The design is cute, and like I mentioned, the animation is an improvement. But unfortunately, Electric Peel and SeaShooter were the only well-animated modern plants. You'll see. Shroom. Introducing the 11.3.1 update, he's able to spawn miniature versions of itself to protect adjacent plants. These little guys will give a 1.5 times damage boost to other mushrooms they guard. He boosts the following mushrooms: Scaredy Shroom with a 1.2 times attack speed, and it no longer hides. Shroom and SeaShooter get an extra 30 seconds of lifespan time and become a long-range shooter. Shroom gets higher damage output, and NightCap gets an extra towel for her attack range. For some reason, the Shroom can live in water. I don't really understand why, but it's Popcat's consistent pattern of adding amphibious plants like I mentioned before. The idea of a mushroom plant meant to boost other mushrooms is a cool idea. I do like that a lot. The Shroom spawning in little shrooms to protect the plants are great, but I have to say he's a little overpowered. He makes Toadstool and Chomper seem so useless as the plant can send numerous of mini Chompers for defense. Like I've said many times, these new plants just need new balance. Design wise, it's a little cursed. I don't know what happened because SeaShooter and Electric Peel were both well animated. Well, as well animated as you can get with these new plants. I'll put Shroom in great concept, but unbalanced mechanics. Wow. New aquatic mushroom plant number 5000 for the update 11.4.1. I wonder why PopCap has added so many aquatic plants lately. There's only one world dedicated to the water. Ignoring the numerous modern events, these many plants for one adventure mode is a little silly. I still 100% believe that there should be an additional world that would hypothetically be aquatic based. Aqua Vine, I guess, gives the water plants a place in non-aquatic worlds. It's pretty much a lily pad on land that can attack zombies with a jet of water, dealing what I think is way too much damage and knocking it back for one tile. For some reason, when it's planted in water, the projectiles just pierce through the zombies and the damage goes from 100 to 50, also losing its knockback effect. Well, this plant makes Lilypad super useless. It also makes plants like SeaShooter and Tail Kelp sorta useful in other worlds now, I guess. I still think SeaFlora is bad even when Aqua Vine gives it a point. Sorry, not sorry. I think if the Aqua Vine was purely a water pot for water plants to be used on land, it would be fine. But I think the fact that it can shoot out jets of water is a little strange. I thought it was a little unnecessary mechanic-wise. I don't have too much to say about the Aqua Vine, but I'm glad we have another vine plant. I actually like the vine plants, and we haven't had one since Power Vine in 2021. I'll put Aqua Vine in right next to Shroom. The Mangofier is just horrid. Design-wise, if I was shown this plant and someone asked me what game it was from, I would not have said PVZ too. He does not fit with the art style at all, and I believe he's in the top 3 of ugliest design plants in PVZ2. The animation, unsurprisingly, is bad too. I don't even have much to say about it gameplay wise. The biggest problem about it is how ugly it is. Fun fact, it's meant to be a catapult plant. Where do you get a good look at this plant and think, oh yeah, that's a catapult plant? Visuals matter. The Mangofier just shoots out mangoes in his animation. It just comes out of his body, and those mangoes that come out of him, they're straight up just PNG images of a mango from Google. That's lazy. So, the Mangofier is a manual plant and can be tapped to switch between 2 firing modes. The first lobs several mango pieces at multiple zombies. The second lobs a single large mango at one singular zombie. The mechanic of being able to switch from 2 different modes are kinda cool, I guess, but I generally cannot ignore how awful the design and animation are. Ripper460 on Reddit has a great redesign though. I think if it looked like this, where it matches the art style way better, I would put it in the OK tier, since I think the ability to toggle modes is very interesting. Due to its rude design though, I have to put it in the very bad tier. The Blast Spinner. So, I do think it's adorable, but I don't really think it fits with the game. It's meant to be a spider, duh, and I do think it's cute because it's based on the Cobweak House League plant, and you know, cobweb looking plant. That's the reference. But I think it could have been reworked so it doesn't look out of place. Although, unlike the Mangofier, it's not completely ugly to look at, and I would gladly pay for a little plushie of the Blast Spinner. In that topic, here's a little redesign by Unsuspicious Pigeon on Reddit. The name is also a little odd. It doesn't have the plant's name in it. There's no pun to fit in. It's just Blast Spinner. Don't know what that means, but they could have just called it Cobweak or something that fits the plant it's based on. And unfortunately, as adorable as this Spidey is, she has a similar problem that Beansprout has. She is straight up a copy of another plant, Sticky Bomb Rice. Like verbatim. There's a lot you could have done with her, so it sucks that she's just a worse version of what I think is already a bad plant. So what does she do exactly? Well, she's able to lob webs at zombies and adjacent lanes, stunning them for 4 seconds. Some zombies may be turned into cocoons that will explode into splash damage. So if you know how stick bomb rice works, it's the same plant. Yeah, but I can't put this cutie in the bad tier, so I'll put her in A. She had potential. Shroom. He really bothers me. He's the definition of what made Teleportato Mine and Levitater go down in the bad tier in the first place. He is incredibly unbalanced. He's broken, and of course, unnecessary. He makes Ice Shroom and SeaShooter genuinely look way better. It's like my third eye open. In fact, he's so unbalanced that I can't help but put Ice and SeaShooter up a tier. I think I was way too mean when it came to them. The designs are fairly accurate to the first game. They're just a little unnecessary. Shroom, on the other hand, the first and last form are so ugly. They look like a shriveled up peanut. It does much more damage compared to the first game. And to top that off, when it does explode, it spawns a copy of its first stage. I genuinely don't understand why this plant is a thing. And if it had to be, it should cost way more sun than what it does now. The fact that this plant exists makes Cherry Bomb, Grape Shot, and Primal Potato Mine look like a joke. I just don't understand the mindset. Shroom was already a balloon in Balloon Flower's plant food effect. The balloon's design looks way better than the design we have now. So I don't really understand why they didn't just use that. For stats, the initial stage deals 1,100 damage to zombies in a 3x3 area, the medium stage dealing 1,400, and the last dealing a whopping 2,200 damage to zombies in a 5x5 area. There's just no strategy in this plant. And as you guys know, I don't like when instant plants are used and they don't go away, and I hate it. So, very bad. We're truly cooked. Blaze Leaf is very ugly. I thought Mangofier was bad. No, I think Blaze Leaf takes the cake for the ugliest plant now. After taking a good look at this, I think Sundew Tangler looks like a goddess compared to Mangofier and Blaze Leaf. So at this point, it's very obvious that PopCap is either commissioning people or have a very little art team. To take insult to injury, it's somehow worse than Blast Spinner in terms of plant inspiration, with the fact that I don't think this plant is inspired by any real plant at all. Again, there's no clever pun to the name, it's just Blaze Leaf. Wow, real clever. And the fire animations look like those anime green screen fire transitions you can only find on YouTube. There's just so much wrong with this plant. It's literally just Wasabi Weed, by the way, so it's not even original. He was released in the 11.8.1 update, dealing damage in a 3x3 area. He's able to release a special attack, the Blaze Wave attack, every third attack he does, dealing damage across 3 lanes. He's outclassed by both the Snapdragon and the Wasabi Whip. The Blaze Leaf does 30 damage, with his Wave doing 50. Snapdragon does the exact same damage, except a zombie does not have to be 1 tile away in order to get attacked. Wasabi Whip does 40 damage. 10 extra damage compared to Blaze Leaf. Why would someone grind in order to unlock seed packets for Blaze Leaf when the alternatives are way better? If these new plants take time to get unlocked, there needs to be some sort of motivation or reason for unlocking them apart from a person just wanting to 100% complete the game. I'm gonna have to put it in the super bad tier. I'm hoping that the next few plants aren't all going to be in the very bad tier, but we'll see. I actually have good things to say about this plant, but I'll get over the negative parts. The animation is pretty horrid. The user I mentioned before, Will, reanimated this plant, and man, it looks 10 times better than how it does now. It's weird that one singular user can animate better than a whole art team, right? Although I think the leaves above the ice mode and the fire mode are really cool, the ice mode's face is pretty generic looking. I wish it had more personality. But the frost bonnet, dare I say, is actually a really interesting plant mechanic wise. A plant being able to switch between fire and ice attack modes is actually very unique. I know the Mangofier had something similar, but it would just simply switch from other singular or area attacks. The frost bonnet, on the other hand, has great synergy between both the fire and ice mode. Fire mode does attack faster and do more damage than ice. But, fun fact, the fire mode deals bonus damage to zombies that are chilled by its ice mode. Now this is what I believe is what makes a plant interesting. Something that hasn't been done before. I never like how similar melee plants are to one another, or how new instant plants are just a stronger version of Cherry Bomb. With this, I can put this plant on okay. The Znake Lily is a little boring, but it's a third plant to be a copy of another plant. Released in the 11.9.1 update, it can spawn enchanted tornadoes that transform zombies into plant team zomboids, dealing heavy damage to them if they cannot be transformed. In summary, it's pretty much Kali power, with a smaller range. The reason why I liked Frost Bonnet was because it was unique mechanically. Znake Lily is not very unique, and I would say that puts him in the same level as Bean Sprout in terms of originality and tier. He's very bland and uninspired. So with that, I'm gonna have to put him in bad. I have nothing to say about this plant. It's cute, that's something, right? Since this was a shorter segment, I'll talk about Sweetheart Snare as well. I'm actually quite fond of her design and animation. She's not terribly stiff, surprisingly. This is definitely an upgrade. In terms of gameplay though, I don't really like the way she works. She's able to damage and slow zombies walking through her, and gets stronger when there are more Sweetheart Snares to link with her on the lawn. She cannot be destroyed at all. She can't be eaten, pulled by the fisherman zombie, immune to winds, can't be transformed into sheep, and cannot be destroyed by the Gargantuar. This is too much of a power creep, so I can't put her up on pretty good. I'll give her a neutral okay tier. Hammeruit. Released in the 12.0.1 update, he's a 3x3 melee attack plant, and is able to charge if there are no zombies around him, dealing more damage the next time he attacks. Yes, the plant is ugly, a lot of people agree that it is, but at least its animation is not that bad. The idle animation for once has easing, which is very rare for these new plants. So I'll give it that. Maybe if they tweaked the sharp colors up and gave it better eyes, I wouldn't call it displeasing as it is now. In terms of gameplay, I've never liked the new melee plants. They're boring and they're never different from one another. They're all kind of the same, honestly. Hammeruit, I guess on the other hand, I do like the hammer's concept, I suppose. The hammer attack charges up to 2 times to deal increased damage. I'll put it in eh. I can't really ignore the design, and I don't like melee plants. Its saving grace is the easy animation and the sorta interesting gameplay. Also, its almanac entry is the worst entry I've ever seen. Targets zombies in an arena. Wow. Yeah, a lot of plants do that. Okay. The SeaShooter makes me angry. I want to rip this plant in half. It's so useless. So, what does the SeaShooter do? Well, releasing the 12.2 update, it's another amphibious plant that can shoot water peas in 3 different directions. Its damage and speed can be boosted when there is a water tile in the 3x3 area around it. It costs 300 sun and does 30 damage. What other plant shoots 3 peas and costs 300 sun? 3 Peter. Why would you get what's practically the same plant and decide, you know what? Let's make it another useless aquatic plant. I'm a little tired of these aquatic plants. I already said it a few times, but there should not be this many plants for a concept that's only in one world. You will never use SeaShooter, SeaFlora, Aqua Vine, or SeaShroom at all because they're really only good for water. Sure, you can say the same for Tanglecup or Guacadao, but these are plants you unlock with ease in their respective worlds. Why would you look at SeaShooter and think, you know what? I'm gonna grind for 2 weeks plus and more for the singular plant that's so limited, it lacks any originality, and I don't think it's based off of any plant really. It's so random. We have enough pea shooter variants. We did not need another one. It's not obvious, I'm putting it in very bad. I know the Aqua Vine made it that these different aquatic plants could be useful in other worlds, but it's so tedious I really don't see the point. The Corn-fetti Popper. Well, technically not nostalgia bait, right? Does this count as Cob Cannon? I mean, it's a different name, different mechanic. I guess you couldn't call it that, right? The design does resemble Cob Cannon a little too much, apart from the confetti corn, but whatever. The Corn-fetti Popper came out in version 12.2, firing a projectile that's able to pierce through zombies. It also has a chance to knock back zombies 2,000 in front of it. This can also be effective with Blover, Horacle, or Draftodil. This plant is pretty fun to use. It's a little bland, there's nothing unique about it, but it's alright. It's a little anticlimactic for the last plant to be just okay. I mean, I like the confetti aesthetic. I'm glad we have a plant that actually has a pun in its name. We haven't had one in a while. It's not exactly random too. It's based off a glass gem corn, which looks like it's made of confetti. Pretty neat, right? I think the design is cute. I'll put it in okay. So this is the tier list overall. The conclusion for the people who want to pause and analyze, and the people that just skip to see what I put. Of course, this is just my opinion. This isn't the true, most accurate tier list. If there are things you disagree with, feel free to comment down below. I'll gladly do a second part answering different comments that add on or challenge my video. I think it's always fun. Overall, I think my favorite plant is most definitely Electric Peel. I think his design is great. He's fun to play with, and his animation isn't completely stiff unlike many of the others behind it. In terms of my least favorite, it definitely has to be tied between Blaze Leaf or Scaredy Shroom, for two different reasons. Blaze Leaf is just plain ugly in every way, and Scaredy Shroom is just completely useless to the game. But he's also ugly. I know there are 4 other new plants that are found in the files that will come out sooner or later. I gotta say, I'm not very excited for these plants. They're very bad design-wise, but who knows? Maybe these are just beta designs. I'll keep a hopeful mind. Plants like Frost Bonnet and Corn-fetti definitely surprised me, so I'm hoping some of these surprise me as well. That's really it. See ya!